From Fenway nights to the Garden's roar, legends rise with the champions soar. On the ice, the Bruins fight for the crown. Drake May, the talk of the town. Ortiz's swing, the crack of the bat. Fenway's faithful tip their hat. Braves legacy, 6 rings pure gold. Gillette's a fortress where stories unfold. The Bruins battle, black and gold grind. Hockey heroes etched in time. Banner 18 up in the Garden skies. Boston sports where legends arise. Celtics source where the bright lights shine. From Red Sox diamonds to the Pats front line. Bruins on the ice, breaking through the freeze. Celtics are champs and against they may please. Sit back and relax, sports are not lame. Your Celtic source back in the game.
Hello and welcome in to your Celtic source, home of your 19-5 second place Boston Celtics. The Celtics have reached the quarter season sort of break with the NBA Cup going on, so I thought it would be a good time to do a little award ceremony for players on the Celtics, and then in the second half I will sort of break down my picks for top 5 contenders in the Eastern Conference behind the Celtics, of course. So, I guess we'll start with MVP. I mean, that's obvious. It's Jason Tatum, right? 28 points, 8.6 rebounds, 5.6 assists, more than a half a block a game, 1.3 steals, and less than 3 turnovers. He's leading the Celtics in every single one of these categories. There's no other player in the league that leads their team in all points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. There's no player in the league that's doing that besides Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum, he won't sit out a game, so his durability and his commitment to the team is something that you don't see in other players, Joel Embiid. And then his playmaking, when he's on the court, is at another level as well. I wouldn't say it's like Jokic, because Jokic just makes some ridiculous passes, and he just put up a 50-point triple-double. They lost to the Wizards that night. But, that's another story. Jason Tatum, I would say, he's probably, if I was to think grand scheme of things, he's probably second on my MVP voting for the entire league behind Jokic. But for the Celtics, number 1. Playmaking, getting guys involved. Him and Derek White, him and Kata have a good thing going, it seems like. And of course with KP, it takes a lot of pressure off of him, because when he's getting doubled, or he thinks he has no choice but to go to ISO, just throw it in to KP, let him go to work. Alright, next we got greatest scorer. So greatest scorer could be Jason Tatum. I'm going to go with Peyton Pritchard. He's become a 3-level scorer, right? He's one of the best, most efficient 3-point shooters, and he's shooting them at a high volume. And he gets into the paint and goes up against centers and bigger guards who are like 4 to 5 inches taller than him, right? Like Peyton Pritchard's self-explanatory. Jason Tatum's close behind, I would say, greatest scorer, but his efficiency isn't quite the same as Peyton Pritchard. He's doing it all off the bench. Like, Joe Mazzulla won't put him in the starting lineup, I think partly because it helps him out with his 6-man campaign, so he's also doing Peyton Pritchard a favor. But on those days when Celtics are missing guys, it actually gives them a spark off the bench. Or even when their full team is there, if they have a slow start, Peyton Pritchard comes in, and if you're the other team, you can say goodnight because you're not winning that game. If Peyton Pritchard's going off, you don't have a chance in that game. Okay, defensive player of the year. Right, I could give it to KP with his rim protection and his, just his presence under the basket stops players from going up or alters their shot. But he hasn't played that many games. I'm gonna give it to Jaylen Brown. I to be honest, I could give it to Peyton Pritchard as well. The way he just hounds some of those lethal guards like Steph Curry, like Damian Lillard he was guarding, and doing a good job. But Jaylen Brown, ever since I would say that loss against Golden State in the finals 3 years ago, his defense has just been on another level. And he kept getting scammed out of winning that all defensive player award or being on an all defensive team. His teammates, Holiday, White, they always keep getting it over him. But I think, Jaylen Brown, his size just makes it. He can guard Giannis. He did that well the other night when the Bucks came to town. He can guard who else? He had a great play on Lillard that night where Lillard Lillard was struggling to get the ball across half court against him and ended up falling down and fleeing the ball to his teammate Giannis. And then he was like on the ground complaining, and Brown was just standing over him like saying like get up. And it's actually pretty funny. What else? Jaylen Brown. I think Joe Mazzulla has instilled in him that if he wants to get the recognition that he needs to be getting, that he should be getting, regardless of whether he's a great defensive player, because guards get it as only offensive players get it a lot. Luka, I would say Lillard, they always get their recognition. Jaylen Brown's equally as talented on the offensive end. And then on the defensive end, he makes the Celtics impossible to go up against. Okay, most improved. That's a hard one. We could go with Pritchard from last year. There's Kada. We could even do... Who else improved greatly this year? I'd say one of those two. I already gave Pritchard his flowers. I'll give it to Kada. Last year, right, he was struggling on that sort of defensive end, sort of flinging himself around, sort of contesting shots that he didn't need to, and then giving up offensive rebounds, and then just fouling guys because he does on plays where fouling guys on plays where he didn't actually have a chance to block or contest that shot and still went for it. And we're seeing that a little bit this year, but his positioning has been so much better. And that's just on the defensive end, right? On the offensive end, he's actually found a way to use his size, use his athleticism to his advantage. He's playing, right? Because of his large stance, he's able to set giant picks for his teammates, right? That helps Jason Tatum get an open three. White has a couple of those, Hauser even. And then he's able to get out of those screens quicker and roll to the basket. And then when you see Kada coming downhill, you just move out of the way because easy dunk for him. So Tatum has found Kada on the roll a couple times this season for some sort of eye-dropping dunks that put those on the highlight reel. So that was sort of great to see. last but not least, sort of major award. You know, it's one that I would not say is a good award to have. It is the biggest bust award, and unfortunately, I do have to give that to Drew Holiday. Right, like he was shooting 60% on corner threes last season, and he's now down to 38% this season, and 36 from above the break. And he did start a little bit slow last season, but that was on a new team. I think this year, we're seeing his age catch up to him. Unlike Al Horford, who continues to just rake. And Al Horford's getting those days off, whereas Holiday isn't. He is playing fewer minutes, right? He and White both played 37 minutes last year. White's up to 38, Holiday down to 31. That's probably because we're using Pritchard a lot more in closing moments, especially because he brings the offense. And Holiday, yes, has good defense, but when you have four other guys on the court that are playing good defense, sometimes you just need a bucket, and Holiday can't always do that. So putting Pritchard in those moments makes the perfect sense. Pritchard, I mean, I've talked about this before. Pritchard could be in that starting lineup 2 years down the road if Holiday retires or they move on from him. I think that's sort of the most likely case scenario. Sort of other things I want to point out. I really like the way Jordan Walsh has been not really playing, but his sort of commitment and dedication. This week, he actually asked Brad Stevens if he could go down and play with the main Celtics G League team because the Celtics had a couple days off and he wanted to get that extra game in. So I like that from him. He still needs to have that confidence to take shots. So, until we see that, he can't play a major role on the Celtics because what's happening is he's missing his first two shots and then he's getting discouraged and then he's not taking a shot and he's just becoming a liability on that offensive end because he can be just left wide open. So, I'll move on now to sort of ranking the top 5 sort of contenders to the Boston Celtics this season. I think some of these, are a little surprising, and it's mostly based on how they're doing right now. I probably should have done what I think it will turn out like sort of as the season goes on. But I was thinking more right now, top 5 teams in the Eastern Conference behind the Celtics. I'll start it off with number 5, the Atlanta Hawks. 2 wins against the Cavs, a win against the Celtics. I think they're like 9-1 in their last 10 games, something like that. They beat the Knicks last night in the NBA Cup. They're heading to Vegas to face off against Milwaukee. So it's interesting because this team, they win these big games against tough opponents, and then they go on to lose against like the Nets and like the Raptors. It's weird. They're very inconsistent, but I think Trae Young's playing at a all-star level. He's averaging like 12 assists a game or something like that. And, I wouldn't say he's a great defender. He's never going to be a great defender, but he's giving more effort. So, yep. Number 5, Atlanta. Number 4, it's the Orlando Magic. I mean, they're struggling right now without Ben Caro, without Franz Wagner. But I think they're going to return, and I think this team, right? They're young. They're sort of like OKC last year. I think they're just a year or two ahead of where they should be. Right? They lost last year against the Cavs in the playoffs. I think, right, when you think about sort of the way they play as a sort of like the Pacers as well. They don't have that true number one, so they sort of play as a team. All of them score, all of them get going, and there's no selfishness on the team. I really like this team. I think they could, if they were fully healthy, and I expect them to be. They were fully healthy. They could make it second round of the playoffs at least. We'll see. The East is getting better than it was to start the season. Like, the East is catching up to where the West has been. It's still well behind, don't get me wrong, but I think, it's a little bit tougher than it was certainly last year and at the beginning of the year, this season. Number 3, Milwaukee. Right? They've turned their season around. They started like 5-10 or something like that. They've won 8 of their last 10, something like that. They're going to Vegas, NBA Cup. Giannis is still averaging like the most points in the league. I think it's like 32, something like that. Like, he's just unstoppable right now. Lillard isn't doing much, but other guys like Green and Jackson, they're all chipping in. The Celtics don't play that team again unless they face them in the playoffs. All the games before Christmas. I wouldn't say that's great scheduling by the NBA, especially because they thought the Bucks would be in the conversation of playoffs and contenders. So I don't know why you do it like that, but the Bucks. Yeah, the Bucks. Number 2. Number 3. Number 2. I'm gonna have to go with the New York Knicks. Right. Right now they're struggling a little bit. They did just lose to the Hawks last night for the NBA Cup trip to Vegas, and Cat's struggling a little bit. Bridges is struggling, but this team, I would say, has the best duo behind the Celtics, because I think, right, no one's as good as Giannis, but I think Brunson and Cat together are better than Giannis and Dame. So I think they'll turn it around. Cat's a lethal shooter. He's going to have to turn it around at some point. The addition of Bridges should help. Let's see. That should help. I think one of the problems with this team is just they're just knocking, right? They're just not making their shots, right? Their defense is good. Their initial offense is good. They just can't get that last shot to fall. And, that'll come back around and help catch up to them. Number 1, we know who it is. It's Cleveland. To be honest, I actually thought this team would sort of slow down after those 2 losses to the Hawks about a week ago, but 2 weeks ago, Thanksgiving time. But nope, they've picked right back up. Still have a better record than the Celtics. I think they're 22-3, 4, something like that. So they're still cooking. No team really has 2 centers that they play at one time the way the Cavs do, and I think that they're just getting easy points in the paint. And then you have those guys coming off the bench just with ridiculous shooting percentages. like in the 50s, and that hasn't come down yet, which is weird. You know, the Celtics, I mean, I really think the Celtics do need that home court advantage, right? So, like, we need to find a way. The Celtics need to find a way to, you know, either like get ahead, because, you know, if it were to stay like this, I'm not saying like they're not going to win out both teams, but I'm saying like this sort of winning percentage were to stay. I mean, the Celtics need. The Cavs are going to be a lethal team in the playoffs this year, I'm telling you. So, yeah, I mean that's gonna do it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Tomorrow I'll be doing a much longer show. I think tomorrow, maybe this weekend, covering all the Red Sox and their off season and winter meetings and whatever. So until next time, go Celtics.
From Fenway nights to the Gardens roar, legends rise with the champions soar. On the ice, the Bruins fight for the crown. Drake May, the talk of the town. Ortiz's swing, the crack of the bat. Fenway's faithful tip their hat. Braves legacy, 6 rings pure gold. Gillette's a fortress where stories unfold. The Bruins battle, black and gold grind. Hockey heroes etched in time. Banner 18 up in the garden skies. Boston sports where legends arise. Celtics source where the bright lights shine. From Red Sox diamonds to the Pats front line. Bruins on the ice, breaking through the freeze. Celtics are champs, and against they may please. Sit back and relax, sports are not lame. Your Celtic source back in the game.